troublemaker.
Hey there, trouble takers. Troublemaker here. And as of 12:30 a.m. this morning, I was the proud owner of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I'd never actually been so excited about a game where I went and bought it right away. It was the first time for me, but yes, after getting it, I promptly drove home as fast as I could and popped it in and started playing. Didn't do any tutorials, just jumped right in. So being without a team to play Artifact Assault, which is my primary game mode, I decided to do my second favorite game mode, which is Assassinate. And wow, yeah, so first impressions, they really destroyed this game mode, and it's unfortunate, and it seems to be the general community consensus that they made it boring. So I'm going to go over my initial impressions of the Assassinate game mode, as well as just a couple overarching things about Black Flag in general. So where do we start? I guess we should start with the huge elephant in the room, the fact that stunning your pursuer now makes them spawn. This drastically changes the game. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I was looking through Game Lab, and it doesn't look like that's one of the things you can change in Game Lab. However, so before, the strategy of Assassinate was to get the stun so you could get the kill, because then you got really high scoring kills, you could get focus bonuses, hidden bonuses, all of those things. And now you don't have that ability to. So at this point, it seems that this Assassinate strategy has been turned on its head, and it's going to be a different game. From what I was playing last night, all of us are playing like we're still in AC3, and clearly that's not the way that it needs to be played, but I did notice that over the course of the evening, people started to play the game more like Wanted, which is unfortunate because we already have a game mode for Wanted. And one of the reasons why people like Assassinate is because you do have this fast-paced game that's based on being able to stun first. They've also made it infinitely harder to actually get the stun. So, I've heard people say that the knife stuns are out. I personally was able to get one or two of them. However, I'm not sure if that was due to either lag, which was incredibly bad, or just the fact that they were not paying close enough attention, or maybe I got to X first, or perhaps it was one of the ones when I was host, and so they were host stuns and not necessarily knife stuns. But it's not going to stop me from trying because they do work occasionally, so I'll still be doing that. In AC3, you had all these different types of stuns. You had corner stuns, knife stuns, reverse drop stuns, firecracker stuns, hay bale stuns, ledge stuns, and of course the ever controversial smoke bomb. And from the few games that I've played where I actually did have firecracker, it doesn't seem that firecracker breaks the lock. So whether or not that was my inability to use it is up for debate, but I guess time will tell. I was playing with a couple other people that were trying to do that. Static, who's in this game, Static Fox, who uses firecrackers incessantly and is very good at them and knows exactly how to use them, was unable to get them on anybody either. So I guess it made me happy that it wasn't just me. So a few minor things that I noticed were things with the actual UI. Things with the actual UI or HUD. One of them being the pursuer indicators. I hate the way that they've changed these pursuer indicators. So if you look up at the top by the clock, there's that little red box, and it has a skull, and then it's got a number, +1, +2, +3, whatever. That's how many pursuers are after you. So in AC3, you had the little triangles, and it was really easy to see out of your peripheral vision how many you had on you. And I noticed I got killed quite a bit by not realizing that I had more than one person on me, so I'm paying attention to the compass, as I'm looking at my pursuer in the front, and I'm paying attention to the compass, making sure that nobody comes up on me, but there is somebody back there, and I don't know until I'm dead because I can't see that there's two. So that kind of drove me crazy. The other thing I noticed is that the compass seems like the depth is different, so it's almost like objects in mirror, maybe closer than they appear, where in AC3 it seemed like they got larger, slower. So I kept thinking that people were further away than they actually were. Another thing that I don't know was just me or if other people feel the same way was the gameplay seemed overall kind of sluggish. So AC3, the characters were really fast and everything seemed like it happened, you know, like the refresh rate was where it should be. But this gameplay actually reminds me more of ACR. So I never really played ACR. I think I got to level 20 or something like that. I definitely didn't prestige, but I kind of gave it a shot and then left. Brotherhood, I've played maybe once, twice, because my clanmates wanted me to go and I started at level 1. But after coming from AC3, just everything seemed so slow, and I just didn't have the patience for the gameplay. This almost reminds me more of that, where it just seems like the refresh rate is a little bit slower, like people are moving just a little bit more lethargic, and I don't like it one bit. The last thing I want to mention regarding the actual UI, I always want to call it UI just because I do web stuff for a living. The HUD is the approach meter. So I had heard whisperings of Assassinate doing away with the expose penalty. So when you lock your target and Assassinate and they lock you back exposing you, it would mark your approach meter. So if you were at silent, it would mark it down to discreet or discreet to reckless. I can't remember which one it did, but you got penalized, which then took points away from you. And I had heard that that was going away. It's clearly not, as you can watch the gameplay, and I was really disappointed because I think that's stupid. Because the way Assassinate is played, that's what you do, and especially having it be an AC3, where the whole idea was to get the stun, you know, and people were baiting, so of course you want to expose your pursuer. That's part of the game. I was really happy to hear that they were going to be omitting that, but I don't know. It's a minor thing, but it's still something that I had expected, that I was disappointed to see was there. Alright, now let's talk about the other elephant in the room. The lag. Oh my god, the lag. But not even the lag. So lag, yeah, it's going to be one of those realities that we just have to live with, because the internet being the nature of the internet, you have people with different connections. There's a connection going from, you know, my house in Seattle to some random guy's house in the UK and somebody in Australia, and that's really, it's far for information to travel, so you're going to have that. However, you expect a game to not completely just freeze up on you, and that would happen consistently, and it would freeze for, you know, 1 to 4 seconds, long enough for you to actually walk from one end of the roof to the other, which it still let you do because it's actually still in the middle of the gameplay, but you can't see what's going on, and then you die. It wasn't just happening to me, happening to everybody, the people that I was playing with. We figured out that if you go back in dashboard, start the game back up again, it would fix it, but it would fix it for 1 to 2 games, and then it would start happening, and it gets exponentially worse the longer you play. This is just unacceptable, Ubisoft. Come on, man. Like, nobody saw that in the testings that were happening. And it got to the point where I ended up raging and then quitting because I just couldn't handle not being able to actually play. It takes all of the joy out of the game, and yeah, that needs to be fixed, or there's a lot of us that will not be playing the game at all, period. My last gripe, and I'm sorry, this video, it seems really negative, and I mean, it's not, granted, this is just Assassinate, and it was the very first week of its release, and so I'm going to reserve final judgment for, after they have some time to write some patches and release some things, and, early adopters always get yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But yeah, anyway, so, moving on. Ninja dodges. I don't know if anybody else noticed the insane amount of ninja dodges that happened, and it seemed to happen arbitrarily. There's the double lock, and that existed in AC3 and probably ACR and ACB. And, I got legitimate ninja dodges that way, being able to still get my kill and without being stunned. But there's, people who are ninja dodging aerial kills when there's nobody else around. There's nobody for them to lock. There's no good reason or legitimate reason why this should be happening. And you get in these ninja dodge battles And you know what I'm talking about, where it's 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, and nobody gets to kill anybody, and eventually either somebody throws a smoke bomb or gives up, or somebody else comes up, a third party comes up and kills one of you guys, and then you can break this cycle. But it happened an insane amount, and I didn't play more than, I got to what level? What am I, 19? I played for a few hours, and I was just amazed on how you could count on it happening. I noticed this was happening in AC3 towards the end. It didn't happen nearly as much during its peak, but when we got closer to Black Flag, I did notice that the ninja dodges started happening all the time, and it was happening from, myself, where I would ninja dodge somebody, and I did not press any button to make that happen. So I don't know if this is some weird glitch that's in Ubisoft, but Ubisoft, if you're listening, you should look into that, because it's really frustrating. Okay, so now that I've spent time unleashing all of the things that drove me crazy about playing last night, Black Flag, let's talk about some of the things that I did like. 1, the kill animation. I would prefer actually if the kill animation went away entirely. However, it is shorter, and sometimes it's virtually non-existent, which I really love, because that kill animation is frustrating when somebody was coming up on you and you know they're there, but you can't lock. So there was this, 2 to 4 second window where you were just a sitting duck. So kill animations. What else? Chases. No more chases. One of the things that I hated in Assassinate, and this is probably just because it was one of my biggest weaknesses, was constantly getting missed targets. So I would trigger a chase unwittingly just by jumping at somebody, and then if for some reason I unlocked, but I'd hit the ground and I'd have a missed target. And my friends can tell you, it happens to me all the time. And I know I shouldn't do it anymore, but I for one am grateful that we don't have any more chase triggers, no more missed targets, at least in Assassinate, so that makes me really happy. Ground finish moving to B button. Oh, I think the angels came down and the heavens parted, and the whole community is very, very happy that the ground finish has been moving to B, so no more ground finish priority, BS. Stun and kill are still X. Ground finish is B. We're all happy. Thank you, Ubisoft. Thank you so much. And Ubisoft, you also did an excellent job with the maps. The game is really, really gorgeous. It's very realistic. I find myself just wanting to stop and move the camera around just to see all the detail that you put into these things. And, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Assassin's Creed in general, is the amount of effort that you guys put into the actual environment. You got some really talented people over there. I also really like the way that you're able to customize your controls. So anybody who's tried to do a montage or try to gather cinematic clips for a video can tell you it is impossible to get a nice cinematic clip without your HUD showing. So you can turn off the HUD in single player, at least in AC3, you could turn off the HUD in single player, but in multiplayer, the only thing you could turn off was the crosshairs. They call it crosshairs. It's really that little circle that, crosshairs, whatever. Yeah, so if you go into controls, now you're able to customize all these things. You can turn off all these things. You can turn them off individually. You can toggle things. You can not only just turn off the auto camera, but you can also turn off the lock assist, jump assist, which is going to make the experience for competitive players a lot better, because now you can actually control, or you have more control over where your character goes rather than being magnetized to one item or person or another. People that also want to play, make their experience a little bit harder, can turn off the crosshairs. You can turn off the compass entirely. You can turn off the player information. You can choose to make your teammate's name, a little name that comes over your teammate's head in team modes. You can choose to either have that only display when they're close, like it did in AC3, or all the time, so you always know where they are, and that's pretty awesome. And there's just so many other things, and I really think that it's awesome that they've given this level of control to the players now. I haven't had a whole lot of time to fool around in Game Lab. I did go through a little bit. My initial thoughts is that it's not giving as much control as I thought we would have over games, but I'm gonna have a lot of fun going in there and trying to create some things. And some of the people in the community, like Hellbilly, had some really fantastic ideas about how to make Assassinate more stealthy. I think the changes that they've made to the game overall almost go there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what players make in Game Lab and how that pans out. The other major improvement they made that is awesome is the clan management. But everybody knew the ladder sucked. I don't know how they're calculating the ladder now, but now you don't have to go onto that Assassin's Network and log into that website that was horribly designed. And yeah, the Remember Me button never worked, by the way. So I always had to log in each time I went there. Now you can create clans, you can manage clans. It's way easier to request or invite or see where your standings are and all of that. I think that's just swell. Well, that's it for me, guys. And thank you for watching. And I'm really interested to hear you guys' comments and your own experiences. And, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I just retarded? Do I need to go back to gaming school? Let me know what you think. And, give a like if you like. And subscribe and all that jazz. Troublemaker out.